What's up, YouTube world? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a treat for you guys. So the first thing I want you to do is see the red button down below, subscribe, hit it, go on. Now today I'm going to do a what's in the bag with a European Tour superstar. So obviously it's lockdown, the virus is going on, and we can't physically see each other. And also I'm in Switzerland and he's in New Zealand. So we're going to do a bit of an interview over the internet. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So driver, I've had a Fox head cover on it for ages, for obvious reasons. I've got the 785. Can you see that properly? I can't quite see it on my screen.
Yeah, mate.
Which is at 10 degrees. It says 9.5 on it, but it's at 10. Everything's pretty standard, and shaft-wise, I'm running the Miyazaki Kusala, which is extra stiff, but it's tipped a fair decent amount. I've had the same shaft in about 4 or 5 different driver heads. Probably had it for about 8 years, and it's worked really well. Been a pretty easy transition changing heads, and this has been a really good head for me as well.
All right, excellent. So as we all know, you're obviously in 2018 you're ranked #1 on the European Tour in driving distance, and 2019 you're ranked #2. I mean, that's a pretty unreal stat, to be honest. So where do you think your power comes from, and what sort of advice would you give to some young lads starting out? Would you just say hit it hard now and straighten it out later, or?
Yeah, well, I can answer the second part first. Definitely learn how to hit it hard before you learn how to hit it straight. I think I was lucky. I always had that mentality anyway, but it seems to be a lot easier to learn how to hit it straight when you get older than to learn how to hit it far. I know I've got a few mates who tried it kind of the other way, and even you see guys on tour trying to pick up speed, and you can pick up a little bit, but it's hard to make massive gains later on speed-wise, but it's certainly easy to rein it in a little bit. Then you can see that with, a lot of guys on tour, DJ and Rory and those guys don't go at it hard the whole time, but they've still got length when they need it. And obviously, they're some of the best drivers of the golf ball in the game, and that's because they've dialed it back enough. They've got some accuracy as well. For me, in terms of hitting it hard, I've probably always been lucky. I think it's all about sequencing generally. You've got to have the body turned back in the right way, create some coil in the hips, and then uncoil everything at the right time. Start from the ground up, and work everything after that. And I've always been lucky. I haven't necessarily had a massive turn, but I've always had really good sequencing in everything I've done in terms of golf. And I think early on I had that mentality of I just wanted to hit it hard and not really give much of a shit where it went, especially when I wasn't taking it seriously, and that translated into pro golf. It took a fair while to rein it in and have driver become a weapon, but it was certainly doable.
Right. I mean, I've got a little bit of a story about us playing about 10 years ago. We were playing against each other in match play, and we're playing a par 4. It was a little dog of your right. Playing into the wind, I hit driver 4-iron and driver little 4-iron, and you hit driver little flick, little wedge. So, and then for the guys that know how far I hit it, then sort of maybe that will give a little bit of a measure up to see how far you hit it. So I reckon you've probably got about 60 meters on me when you let one rip. So
no, I don't know about that. You get lucky every now and again. I probably hit a decent one into the wind and you flared it up a little bit. That's probably what happened for memory, but it was a long time ago now.
Yeah. All right, mate. So you rock 3-wood, and do you have driving irons or rescues, or do you swap them in and out?
So I got a 2-iron in the bag at the moment. So that's the Shrixon Z U85. I swap that in between a 2 and a 3-iron depending on golf course, and that's purely 2-iron if I'm hitting more off the tee. I feel it goes a little bit further. I can do a little bit more with it in terms of keep it low, I can hit a flat cut or a flat draw with it, whereas 3-iron tends to go pretty high, and I struggle to knock it down as much. They actually fly about the same distance, but 2-iron goes a bit further. So if I'm hitting a few second shots, I'll put 3-iron in, and if I'm mainly using it off the tee, I'll have 2-iron, especially links golf and stuff like that. 3-wood I've had plenty of issues with. I've actually gone back to a really old model. I think it's got lead tape on it at the moment, but it's the Z745 Shrixon head. I've been through quite a few different models and different brands in 3-wood, and I tend to cave the face of them a lot. The rules around the COR, or the springiness of the face, are quite different for 3-wood compared to driver, and I think a lot of 3-woods are made to be hot, and I seem to have the launch conditions and maybe a bit of speed to cause some issues in the face. So that's actually a steel head 3-wood. There's probably not too many guys that use them now, but at least I feel like I've got a bit more longevity in it. And, I was getting a bit frustrated with 3-woods for a long time there. I get one that would go really well, and then just hit a complete mystery with it, sort of 40 or 50 offline from nowhere, and looked down at the face, and I'd completely flattened it off, or I'd even caved it completely. So it was a bit of a frustrating process, and I'm probably still not 100% on that 3-wood, but it's certainly better than what I was using.
Oh, so I don't hear many 3-woods cracking in the face, so it must be your power. I mean, I hear a lot of drivers caving in, but 3-woods are, very, very rarely I hear about them cracking in. So.
Yeah, I still swing 3-wood at sort of 114 or 115 mile an hour. And I think it's got to do, I tend to hit down on 3-wood quite a lot. So it compresses it into the turf and the club face at the same time. And I generally hit it quite high in the face. I just think I tend to find a weak spot pretty quickly in them, which is a little bit unfortunate, but because there is some really good 3-woods out there, and I have had success over short periods with them, but longevity I've really struggled with. And it's kind of it's a club in my bag that I don't use that often, but when I use it, I kind of need it to be right, obviously. And it's been a club, especially the last sort of year or so, I've really struggled to trust.
Okay, all right. So we'll jump into the irons.
Yeah, nice and easy. Again, plenty of lead tape on them, but they're the Shrixon Z785s. They are cavities, but they've got a pretty slim top line, and they look very much like the Blade model. I've had these in the bag for a couple of years now. I think we were due for a new model at some point. I'm not sure when. They're normally on about a 2-year cycle, I think. But obviously this virus has probably had put that timeline back a little bit. But I love those irons. I go 4-through pitching wedge in them, all standard loft. Probably a little bit flatter than, maybe I think a degree flatter than standard. But yeah, other than that, there's nothing too special about them. Got X100 shafts in them, and I've used those shafts for 10 years at least, and never really felt like I've had any reason to change it out. They kind of do what I expect them to do, regardless of what head I've got on, and it seems to, going to be pretty tough to change out of those. And same with the irons, to be honest. I really, really like the irons, and there's a lot of guys who aren't contracted that use the irons on tour, which I always think is a pretty good show of how good they are.
Awesome. So tell us quickly, what's the best 3-ball or 4-ball you played in on tour?
Probably the best one I've had was my first year on tour, and ironically, it was either the day before or the day after my birthday, from memory. I don't think it was my birthday, and it was in Abu Dhabi, and I played nicely, made the cut by a few, and saw I had a 3-ball the next day with Dustin Johnson and Ricky Fowler. So that on a Saturday. That was pretty good fun. I managed to finish second in the group as well, which was nice. I had bogey-free 3 under. DJ had bogey-free 8 under, made it look like the easiest golf course you could ever see. And Ricky scratched it round a little bit, still shot 1 under. So that was a pretty cool group to play in on tour. And I think we had the biggest crowd of the day quite comfortably, even compared to the leading groups that day.
That's awesome. That's a pretty sick birthday present, if I do say so myself.
No, that was good.
Yeah. So wedges and putter, what do you roll on there?
Wedges, the RTX4s, Cleveland's. Again, I've used every model of the RTX and Cleveland wedges for about 10 years. Loft-wise, I've got a 50 that's a little bit weaker than that, so it's about 50 and a half or 51, and then 56 and 60 are all standard lofts, and I generally use relatively low bounce on them. I've got 6 on the lob wedge and sort of a lower bounce on the 56, and the same with the 58. And the only probably interesting thing I've done with those is put S400 shafts in the 56 and 60 compared to the X100s. That personally for me, it's a little bit easier to spin the ball with those shafts. They're a little bit softer. They've still got the weight of the X100, but a little bit softer, a little bit more feel to them. And I probably struggled a little bit spinning the ball on the really short shots. And you're not hitting 56 and 60 that hard most of the time. So an X1 was overkill a little bit.
How often do you swap those out? Do you get new ones?
I mean, obviously I'm fairly lucky to have access to it pretty often, so I would swap them out every 3 months probably. It obviously depends a little bit on how much I've played and stuff like that, but the average would be about 3 months. I mean, I've had these ones since November last year, and they were sort of on their way. Well, they're sort of on their way out, and I've got a new set coming, but I haven't touched a golf club in 5 weeks with the lockdown here, so I have certainly no hurry to replace them at the moment. Okay. And putter, you asked about. So this is really new in the bag. Scotty Cameron arm lock, actually. It's the SB Plus head model, and then the nice long grip arm lock version, somewhat like Matt Kuchar. And to be honest, that was a fairly desperate move on my part. I was really struggling with my putter through probably the first couple of years I've had on tour, to be honest. Obviously had a few decent weeks here and there with it, but it's been inconsistent to say the least. So I had a putt with a couple of guys, arm locks in, I think, Saudi this year. And just with a couple of putts, I quite like that. I feel like that's pretty stable, and got one built up for the Vic Open. And first week in the bag, I got to practice with it on Wednesday, finished second that week, and gone from strokes gain, losing strokes on the field and the strokes gain stats quite comfortably with the putter for the first week, and probably 6 months I'd even gained some strokes, and it was a nice addition to the bag. It was the same in Mexico. I putted quite nicely that week, and again didn't lose any shots to the field, and sort of finished mid-pack, which was not too bad in a pretty strong field like that. So I'm hoping that's going to stay in the bag for a while, and it was trending in the right direction, and hopefully it continues to do so when we can get back out on the golf course.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of putting swings and roundabouts, doesn't it? It's just got to pick up a bit of confidence, and sometimes it's a new putter or a new grip, and you're away.
Yeah, it is. And I've tried the new putter thing several times, and thought I'd try the new putter and new grip thing this time, and that seemed to work.
Yeah. So you're ranked 131 in the world at the moment, and you were as high as 66 in the world in 2018. Can you tell us why the world rankings are so important? Is there a number that you have to get to allow you automatic entry into all the majors?
Yeah, I mean, top 50 is the automatic one. So, that's all the WGCs, all the majors. So that, that's the end goal. Obviously, you want to, top 10 in the world's a pretty good goal to have, but to get in that top 50 where you get all the benefits, the big events, plus there's some PGA Tour categories in the invitational events for top 50 as well, and the same in Europe. So it is a real benefit to get in that. Outside of that, it's not really too much of an issue other than maybe the PGA Championship where they take, I think it's around about the top 100 in the world. And obviously world ranking means a little bit in terms of trying to ask for invites for events and stuff like that. But in terms of if you're going to give one number to be inside, it would certainly be the top 50.
All right, wicked. So what ball are you using at the moment?
I have the nice old used one in here, the Shrixon Z-Star XV. I think that's the 6th version of it for memory. Okay. So again, it rolls around every 2 years, and I think it's one of the better balls out there. It's really consistent. Durability-wise, is pretty good. In the wind, it's fantastic. It seems to not get whacked around by the wind too much, and you certainly don't lose anything with it on the greens. It spins as much as anything else. So, I've been really happy, and I think Shrixon as a brand generally is, when they've bought something out in their cycles, it's always been better than the previous model, and that's what I like about the company. And that's why I've been with them for over 10 years now. So it's been a long-standing relationship, and something that I feel like I've benefited from greatly as well.
Yeah, okay. So you got into Shrixon through New Zealand Golf, was that right? And stuck with them since?
So when I first made the New Zealand Academy in, I think it was 2009, Shrixon had just taken over the sponsorship of that academy, and it continues to this day, actually. And their sponsorship of the academy, and obviously their sponsorship of me continues to this day. And I was one of the first in the academy to change to the ball and the clubs, and I really enjoyed it. The guys we dealt with in Aussie, a guy Chris Murchie, who I still deal with now in Australia, was fantastic and a great fitter, and he put me into some good stuff early. And I think that's pretty important in building a new relationship as well. Fitting a clubs at the high, fitting the clubs for anyone's important, but fitting clubs at the high end is really important. Half an inch tipping on a club can make 400 or 500 RPM difference on a driver or a 3-wood, and that's a pretty significant number in terms of the overall performance of a club. So I was very lucky there, and had some good advice earlier with Chris, and it's continued with the Shrixon guys in Europe ever since I've been out there as well.
Man, that's awesome. All right, man. Thanks for letting us jump on this call with you today, and you showing us through your bag. Is there any way that some of my followers or something, the guys that are watching this, can follow you on Instagram or Facebook or whatever?
Yeah, that's nice and easy. Ryan Fox Golfer on Instagram and Twitter. So, or no funny symbols or anything in there, and just spelt normally. So, it's I got onto that pretty early, and makes it pretty easy for social media in that regard.
All right, mate, that's awesome. And then, I love how that you're a super humble person on and off the golf course. So, keep that work up, mate. And hopefully 2020 season can continue shortly. And wish you all luck for the future. And can't wait to see you back on the TV on the European Tour, winning some more European Tour events, mate.
Cheers, mate. That would certainly be nice. I'm not sure when exactly we'll be back out there at the moment, but obviously there's a few more important things going on than golf tournaments at this point.
And there we are, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I mean, I certainly did. So if you did enjoy it, please hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And also, Foxy did say you can follow him on social media, so I'm going to put his links down in the description below so you can click on those and just go straight through to his page. Now, maybe you can chuck a comment down below. Tell me who you'd like to see on the What's in the Bag episode with Jonesy Golf. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, guys, and enjoy the golf when we can.